I told him. A real man could give me a baby. That's literally what I said to his face when I found out. And at the time, I believed it. I thought I was just being honest. That I had the right to demand more. That if he couldn't give me what I wanted, then he wasn't enough. But I had no idea. That one sentence, it would destroy everything. Because now, he has a family, a wife, a child, a life filled with love. And me? I can't even get a second date. This isn't the story where I win him back. This isn't the story where everything works out in the end. This is the story of how I threw away the best thing I ever had and spent the rest of my life regretting it. Connor and I met when I was 24 and he was 32. He wasn't the flashy, smooth-talking type. He wasn't the guy who walked into a room and had everyone's attention. But he was steady, kind, reliable. The kind of man who held the door open without thinking, always texted back and actually remembered the things I said. At first, I loved that about him. He made me feel safe. So when he proposed, I didn't hesitate. We got married, moved into a tiny 2-bedroom apartment, and started planning our future. And for a while, it was fine. Not amazing, not terrible, just fine. Connor worked as an assistant manager at a medical supply company. He made decent money, but we weren't living a luxury life. Still, he always found ways to make me happy. If I had a bad day, he'd pick up my favorite snacks. If I mentioned something I wanted, he'd save up and surprise me. He never forgot our anniversary, birthdays, or even small milestones. And for the first 2 years, I thought we were building something real. But then, I decided I wanted a baby. And that's where everything fell apart. I had always imagined being a mother. Ever since I was little, I pictured holding my baby, decorating a nursery, and starting the perfect family. And after 2 years of marriage, it felt like the right time. So Connor and I started trying. At first, it was exciting. We would talk about baby names, look at houses with extra rooms, and imagine what our life would be like as parents. But months passed, then a year, and nothing happened. I started tracking every little thing, my diet, my ovulation, every symptom. I cut out caffeine, took vitamins, followed every tip I found online. And still, nothing. That's when I started looking at Connor differently. I didn't want to admit it at first, but deep down, a thought started creeping into my mind. What if he's the problem? So we went to the doctor. And after a few tests, we got our answer. It was him. Connor had low fertility. His chances of getting me pregnant were almost non-existent. And that's when everything changed. When the doctor told us the news, Connor looked devastated. I remember squeezing his hand, telling him, "It's okay, we'll figure it out." But inside, I was furious. This wasn't how my life was supposed to go. I had done everything right, got married, built a home, planned for the future. And now, because of him, my dreams were slipping away. At first, I tried to be patient. We discussed options treatments, IVF, even adoption. But none of them felt right to me. Because deep down, I had convinced myself of one thing. A real man wouldn't have this problem. And one night, I said it out loud. It was during an argument. I don't even remember how it started. All I remember is him telling me to be patient, that we could figure it out together. And I snapped. A real man could give me a baby, Connor. The second it came out, I saw it. His entire face shut down. The hurt, the disbelief, the realization that I didn't see him the same way anymore. And that was the moment I lost him. I just didn't know it yet. Connor didn't yell. He didn't argue. He just stared at me, like I had just ripped his heart out. Then, after a few seconds, he nodded slowly and said, "Got it." And that was it. He walked away, didn't slam the door, didn't fight back, just left the room, silent. I expected him to get angry later, to confront me, to demand an apology. But instead, he stopped trying. He stopped touching me first. He stopped looking at me the same way. At first, I thought he just needed time. But days turned into weeks. And then, one night, as we were lying in bed, he spoke softly, almost too calm. "Jade, Do you even love me anymore? I should have said yes immediately. I should have grabbed him, begged for forgiveness, told him I didn't mean what I said. But I hesitated. And in that moment of silence, he knew. 2 weeks later, he packed his things. And just like that, my marriage was over. I should have fought for him. I should have apologized, begged, done anything to make him stay. But instead, I convinced myself that I was right. He wasn't enough for me anyway. I deserve a man who can actually give me a baby. I'll move on fast. He's the one losing out, not me. That's what I told myself. So after the divorce, I jumped back into dating. I met men who were taller, richer, more exciting. Men who talked a big game, who called themselves real men. But guess what? None of them stayed. None of them treated me the way Connor did. None of them wanted to build a life with me. And before I knew it, 2 years had passed. I was still alone, still childless, still searching for something I had already thrown away. And then one day, I saw him again. And that's when reality hit me like a truck. It had been 2 years since Connor walked out of my life. 2 years since I told myself I'd find someone better. 2 years since I thought I had won. But then, I saw him. I was grabbing coffee when I turned around, and there he was. And he wasn't alone. He was smiling, laughing with a woman. She was beautiful, classy, the kind of woman who looked at him the way I used to before I ruined everything. And then, I saw it. The stroller. My breath caught in my throat. Connor leaned down, picked up a little baby girl and kissed her forehead. She giggled, reaching for his face. And that's when it hit me. He got his happy ending. He had a wife, a child, a family. Everything I said he wasn't man enough to give me, he gave to someone else. And me? I was standing there, alone, holding my coffee, realizing too late. I lost the only man who ever truly loved me. I don't get a happy ending. I don't get a second chance. Connor moved on. He found a woman who saw his worth, who loved him for the man he was not, for what he could or couldn't give her. And me? I can't even get past a third date. Because the men I thought were real men, they never stayed. They never cared the way he did. And now, I lay awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering what my life would have been like if I had just appreciated him. If I had just kept my mouth shut. If I had just loved him the way he loved me. But the thing about losing a good man, once he's gone, he never looks back. And now, I'm the one left behind wishing I could take it all back. But life doesn't work that way, does it? Goodbye.